If I go over here, can you see me? Or I'm looking for a spot where I can see most of the people without whipping my head back and forth. Okay. And then chaos ensues. Okay. So, it was before COVID. And for some unknown reason, they asked me to talk here one Sunday. It was a group thing, and the topic was tell a folk tale. And my folk tale on that day was my version of the Dostoevsky ditty that my wife read. Story about heaven and hell. For those who don't understand Dostoevsky, who saw everyone as a saint and a sinner and a madman all at the same time, one could think it's a really traditional story. Good guys go to heaven, bad guys go to hell, and actions have consequences. I don't like that story at all. And so my version of this story is about a jailbreak. I figured, there's a reasonable chance I'll end up in jail someday for something or other. And so it would probably be a workable skill to figure out how to get out. Now, it's worth noting that really the only sin that the lady in the story is identified of having is that she ignored people. She never helped anybody with anything. And that got her thrown into the fiery pit, and her guardian angel, good guy that he was, came and held an onion down. The theory being that she gave an onion to a beggar once. I don't know how nutritious one onion is, but, he was grasping at straws. And he held them down, and the trick was she was going to get out. All the onion had to do was hold together, and she was fine. But the lady panicked because, other people in hell, they started hanging on her. And she was trained in the sciences and knew that, this onion can only hold so much weight. But the story has nothing to do with science. And everyone started to get out. But then she screamed, "This is my onion, not yours. Be gone." And she dropped back into the pit to burn forever, as religious folk like to say. Now, what I love about that story, and in my version of this story, this just says that, the first try failed, but there are other ways to get out of heaven. Got it. Hell. Ashley covers for me whenever I make mistakes. Anyhow, my addition to Dostoevsky that I said that day before COVID was that should you find yourself in hell, any one of the million different hells that life can throw at you, and you will find yourself there, the way to get out is to grab onto somebody else, because nobody gets out alone. Today's my mom's birthday, and basically I'm going to do a bunch of snapshots today of little pieces that I think somehow fit together. It's up to you to decide. My mom was kind of crazy. Thank goodness. I'm definitely her son. And that second poem that Megan read, I was a shy kid in 7th grade. And my English teacher, Ed Mullins, had decided that everyone in the class had to learn how to do public speaking. And I was scared to death. And so, it's the day before the speech, and we're looking through, what can I do? And the theme was poetry. And my mom, she was famous for, running around the house reciting Gunga Din or The Cremation of Sam McGee or other classics in her venue, but all of those were too long. So she started pulling down poetry books. This was before the internet. So, you had to have stuff lying around. And we found this one. And it was short. And it had bats and owls and worms in it. So it was perfect for a 7th grade boy. And I really think that the only reason I'm here today is because I did that poem and people laughed. And it made a difference. But the side effect of that poem was the last line. As blind as are these three to me, so blind to someone I must be. And so as a 7th grade kid, I also started awkwardly staring at people. And the amazing thing was, the more I did that, the more I found good people. If I stared at them long enough, in fact, that none of them were bad at all. I mean, I can tell you social work stories of the dad who I brought his daughters to prison to visit him. And he sang, "Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls" to them. And it was one of the most moving father-daughter things I've ever seen in my life. People are good. But I forget that sometimes. So work in progress is kind of where we're going with this. Today's my mom's birthday, by the way. On your anniversary, oddly enough. She's been gone for almost 10 years. She'd be 95 today. And I want to tell you a story about my mom. My dad had just died of cancer, and my immediate family was trying to figure out this whole insane funeral thing. And we went to the funeral home, and they had us picking out caskets. Might want to just warn anyone who's not been at this that kind of the worst time to make financial decisions on funeral homes is the day after a loved one has died. And so they showed us this really nifty oak casket. And we were all kind of, well, sure, it's like way too much money, but we'll go with it anyhow. And then my youngest brother, Tim, he kind of had this angry moment where he shouted out, "This is stupid." The last thing Dad would have wanted was to waste money on a casket. And so we ended up looking through the catalog and getting the cheapest possible casket they had. This one was a metal burgundy casket. And it was still too expensive, but it was a lot better than oak. So anyhow, we're at the wake. And you know, it's exhausting and painful and all of those things. And finally it's over, and it's just me and my siblings and my mom who are still there. And I say, "I think everything went pretty good." And my mom said, "Well, yeah, except for that one guy who said, 'Look, they got the cheap burgundy casket.'" And I said, "Really?" And my mom looked at me like I was from Mars, and she said, "No, of course not." But my mom knew that laughter is a superpower. And we don't do it in so many places. I mean, people are afraid to laugh in church. Politicians don't laugh. You know, if you're trying to get out of hell, a good start is to laugh as much as you can. I don't know how it works. It makes no sense, but do it anyhow. New snapshot. Regrets. I'm 71 years old, so I've had a lot of practice making mistakes. One mistake, I was a child welfare manager, and so we kind of dealt in crisis every minute. And one day, we needed to move a kid, and it needed to go to a home that wasn't licensed by my agency. And so I had to call and beg someone to use their foster home. And I called, and they put me on the phone with the manager for that agency, who I think had been doing the job for about 3 days. And I'm already stressed out, and I've been doing this 20 years. And so realizing that the gentleman had no idea what I was asking, I kicked in and set him straight and told him what we were going to do and told him how we were going to do it. And generally, I did it in a way where I was pretty much an asshole. I regret that tremendously. I was right. And there have been times in my life where I thought that being right was all that mattered. Now that I'm kind of old and drooling on myself, I think I can look back for starters and realize that there are so many times I thought I was right when I wasn't. But along with that, if I have a choice now, instead of choosing to be right, I'd like to choose to be kind. Because we can pick each other up. You know, didn't get here alone, no matter how much the American dream tells us that we did. We're all on the backs of other people. And sometimes an encouraging word at just the right time can change a life. Just like Mr. Mullen's speech class and the stupid poem about bats and moles changed mine. Okay, here's the weirdest story I have to say. I grew up Catholic, and I think what confuses other religions most about Catholicism is the crazy confession thing. You know, where you go and tell your flaws to somebody else. And that is crazy. But in doing it, I figured out, hard to believe, an alternate version of how that's supposed to work. Because there are days when I don't need a priest to forgive me. But what I do need is help forgiving myself. Because when I'm down on myself and depressed, there's a whole depression spiral thing where you realize you're just going to make it worse and you're not getting out by yourself. And so somewhere along the line, back when I was a kid, maybe it was around 7th grade when I was learning how to speak in speech class, I started going to priests who I kind of knew. You know, I was an altar boy, and, you know, believe it or not, there are some nice priests out there. So, you know, I would go to someone who knew me, and I never know exactly what my sin of the day was. But if I was feeling broken, maybe like, you know, like I made it hard for the other supervisor, I would say, I don't think I can do this anymore. You know, I might as well give up. I don't want to try. And it would be the priest's job not to just give me 3 Hail Marys and 3 Our Fathers, but it would be the priest's job to say, I believe in you. And the universe believes in you. And whenever we can hear that message, it changes everything. If we feel believed in, we can change the world. I've learned along the way that in those times when I find myself in hell, an angel with an onion never shows up when I need them. But somehow or other, there's always been someone there to pull me out. And what that does is it kind of commissions me. You know, my job is to pull other people out. You know, I got to pass it on. And so today you're all officially commissioned sometime this week and every week thereafter. Go out there and pull someone else out of hell. No one gets out by themselves.